الله أكبر حي على الصلاة الله أكبر
Islam wars.
الله أكبر حي على الصلاة الله أكبر.
Arise, giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. We extend the highest of honors to His Holy Divine Prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder, the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. Extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam. Giving high honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent the 5 highest principles known to man, known as love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam. Extending high honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you, the Moors, with compound interest. Islam. This flag also exists to remind you of your rights and duties. Islam. Extending high honors to the noble Sheik staff, the noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the ills and babes, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam. How's everyone on the holy night? Praise Allah, praise Allah. Tonight, glad our brother Joseph and Fidel gave a powerful demonstration on law, because law indeed does govern all the events. Islam. I like to say every so often that, back amongst our forefathers, one will come on the holy day to be reminded of the law. The master will come up and demonstrate the laws of the forefathers, so that we would, we would remind ourselves of this, so that we would know how to govern ourselves in the world, govern ourselves accordingly. Islam. Tonight I'd like to draw from Moorish literature a few articles for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. These articles are entitled "The Prophet Has Spoken" and "The General Laws As Said by the Prophet." Here at Islam, when you've arrived at the Prophet has spoken. Islam. It says, the Prophet has spoken. All governors and grand sheiks and head officials that guide any body of Moors of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he or she must be of good moral standard and a heart of love, and their works must be of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They have to imitate the Prophet in speech and teaching in any said temple. They must not be under the influence of intoxicating liquors or any other harmful motive that would terminate to become detrimental to the organization. It must not be known that any leader is staying away from home or neglecting his duty at home, or must allow the public to know of their wrongdoings. They must forever live the life of love at home, and it must be known by all the members. They must not speak rash words nor any profane language in the mildest form to any other individual, because a leader without the influence of good works cannot be a leader. And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down unto you by I, the Prophet. Remember that phrase, I, the Prophet. No finance business is to be opened with any group of members of any said temple by the governor or grand sheik, or whosoever in charge, without the consultation of I, the Prophet. All uplifting funds are to be issued, all uplifting funds, books are to be issued only through I, the Prophet, because that money is to finance the Moorish movement. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund, which cannot exceed the amount of 25 cents to 50 cents a week per member. All public collections and dues go to the supporting of each said temple and its domestic work. No finance books are to be served in any temple except by the Prophet. The head of every temple must, by law, obey the word of the Prophet. And if any leader or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is his charge and is subject to the enforcement of the laws by the grand body. And the penalty may be a fine or a removal from office or placed under a very heavy restriction of the law. Islam, Moors. These are the supreme words of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, found in the Moorish Guide newspaper, February 15, 1929. Now, throughout this compilation that is known as Moorish literature, which is basically extracts from Moorish God newspaper, we find that these are articles that the Prophet put in place because of certain things that were happening in the temples. Islam? All right? So an outsider's eye may look at the statement when the Prophet demonstrated that no finance books are to be opened except without the consultation upon the Prophet, and say, well, why is the Prophet demonstrating transparency? Right? The Prophet did demonstrate transparency until such time when a coup was performed. The more science simple than that. This French term, coup d'etat, which basically just means overthrow of government. In the divine constitution and bylaws, the Prophet outlawed the overthrow of government. Islam? So what happens is, he had to put certain things in place, to protect the movement from ones who sought to do otherwise with it. All right? The Prophet throughout here demonstrates the concept of morality, right? Because again, there is no philosophizing about higher, about exoteric principles and knowledge and information and etymology and all that type of stuff if you can't demonstrate basic character, right?
Islam.
The Prophet demonstrated that we must have a moral, be of good standing and have a heart of love, and works. Those works must be of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Right? These are things that Moors miss. Right? There is no. If you take a pig and you put holy garb on it, turban. Right? Let him wallow in the mud first, right? So make sure he's filthy if you washed him. He's filthy even if you wash him. I'm just saying, boys. Right? When we take pig and we, let him wallow and he's nice and dirty, you take holy garb. You put on him nice embroidery and, tassels and, turban, put a nice silk turban on with the diadem in the middle. With the plume. Right?
With the plume.
It's still a filthy beast. Islam? Because his nature is designed to be such. Right? So the Prophet didn't want us parading through the streets, as though we were these Moors up on the high camel, when we were still really what the Prophet just demonstrated here: Negroes, blacks, coloreds, and Ethiopians. Islam. So the true test of this, and it's a test that we all have to face, because we have the degree about the broken blades of grass. So all of us have something that we damaged with here in this carnal plane that we have to work on, right? But this Moorish Science Temple of America is designed to get you to work out your life sums, all right? And if you notice that article is entitled, "The Prophet Has Spoken." See, anything that the Prophet put down, Moors, is not arbitrary. It's not up for debate. It's not to be reinterpreted. What the Prophet said is what he said. See, this is in conjunction with a law or principle in the Great Quran of Muhammad when it says, we hear and we obey. Islam? The Prophet's law comes down, we hear and we obey. Why? Because the Prophet has spoken. Period. Right? And this is something that we have to get behind because we weren't raised that way. We were raised to question all different types of stuff or whatever.
Indeed.
And there's nothing wrong with questioning. However, if one has demonstrated, like the Prophet makes the phrase, he says, it is all because of jealousy, because of the works that I performed in the past few years. The Prophet was about works. So at every step of the way, he showed you who he was. He showed you that he was a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. Mm-hmm. That being the case, once he demonstrated all that, one oral statement says, that he told the Moors, what else do you want me to do? Kill you?
Right.
I've given you everything. I don't have nothing else to give you.
Right.
Right? When you have such a one in your midst, when he puts down an edict, you follow it, period. Right? Because there is no doubt in the Quran of Mecca, again, the Great Quran of Muhammad, Surah 2, Ayat 1, it says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That term, la raiba, this right here. I'll do it in English. Right? Means, and it's funny, depending on where you're from in the country, we like to say that. You're going to the party tonight? No doubt, no doubt. But that la raiba means no doubt, meaning that in that which Allah has revealed, there is no doubt in it. There is no doubting his prophets. There's no doubting his messiahs. There's no doubting those thoughts of Allah that are manifested in flesh. All right? So, with regards to questioning, let's reserve our questioning to those that deserve that. Mm-hmm. right? But the ones that have demonstrated those higher planes, that wisdom that speaks from the highest plane of spirit life, we're to get behind what they say. And our prophet was definitely such a one. Islam?
Islam.
All right, let me go over to the general laws. General laws, as said by the prophet, same Moorish literature. Right? These general laws are coming out of the convention period. Right? When all the temples, the national heads came together and, brought into fruition Act 1, the making and enforcing of law. It says general laws as said by the prophet. Every temple and head is to function by words, deeds, and actions, imitating the prophet, especially when teaching a group of Moors, any group of Moors. Let me pause there. That's a very prophetic statement. In that, I'll get the exact date for you. On October 17th, 1928, there was only one group of Moors. Right? So the prophet knew what was going to come down the pipe. Let me read that again. Every temple and head is to function by words, deeds, and actions, imitating the prophet, especially when teaching a group of Moors, any group of Moors. These are the general laws. The supreme laws will be handed to you later. The heads of all temples are to submit a report monthly of all finance. The heads of all temples are to, by force, refrain from all wrath words, which are supposed to be wrathful words, profanity in the mildest form from his members. They must live the life of love, truth, peace, and justice, and refrain from all alcoholic liquors or any harmful things that would terminate the destroyed peace or any other of the divine principles. Notice that alcoholic demonstration came back again because it was a problem in that day. It's like it's a problem now, right? It says they are not to contribute to anything that will cause the public to disagree with him or her. And for one to lead a group of Moors, you must keep your house clean. Clean with good deeds, kind words. Your wives, brothers, talk to the brothers now. Your wives, brothers, must hear good words, kind words, and know of your good deeds. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this divine principle, for if you don't restrict to this divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And the heads are not to charge for membership or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or for anything issued by the prophet. Those who contribute to either of the preceding are not Moors, but robbers. Let me pause there. Right? I've had ones who call themselves Moors contact. I get all kind of inboxes throughout the week, crazy stuff. Stuff that I don't even really talk about too much. But I've had ones that will contact me on some, I want to proclaim my nationality as Moorish American because I want to get out of this child support. More, take care of your kids. That has nothing. Your inability to take care of your kids is a social problem, And if you would have said, I want to join the temple because I want to find a way to generate income to take care of my children, you welcome arms then. But, all that circumventing the law, this is Negro, Black, Colored, Ethiopian. This is Brother Raphael demonstrated, and Brother Sheik Rashid, the Noble Chairman, demonstrated about, the census demonstration, about how, Moors don't fill out census, man, because we're so used to skating around the law, right? We're not even counted in that great number. See, all law that is secular started divine, right? You look in the book of Revelation, they talk about a book of life and those that were counted therein, right? That census is a book of life on a plane of the manifest. And those that are not counted therein are not, they don't receive earthly salvation. They don't receive a lifeline, even if they're drowning. Islam was? Let's keep going. Prophet says, the Holy Prophet says, membership, sisters and brothers, is free. Not only here, but all over the world. The button is 25 cents. Card is 25 cents, and 1 month's dues is paid. Every member pays 50 cents a month for dues. This money goes towards the support of the temple. This, if not paid, does not entitle you to the protection that is provided you, and especially if you are not working or in the position to work. If you neglect to fulfill the small duty assigned to you, how can you rightfully expect money or other help when you are sick or otherwise disabled? Islam? See, Moors, you have to remember the time, always do a timeline when you're studying something. If you do a timeline on the era of the Prophet Noble Ali and see what else was going on amongst the Asiatics, you'll find that they had something known as a mutual aid society. And during the 20s, this was a popular concept. Most of your you all heard of the YMCA, the YWCA. These started off as mutual aid societies. The Prince Hall Masonic Lodge started off mutual aid society. Eastern Star, mutual aid society. Odd Fellows, mutual aid society. What does that mean? It means that even down to your Rotary Club and your Kiwanis and all these various things. These are mutual aid societies. Basically, like the Prophet just explained, if a person found themselves at an impasse where they couldn't provide for themselves and the family, they could go to this particular fraternity to make sure that they were taken care of. But it was a give and take. It's a receive and confer, reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, mutual aid society. You have the degree. You have the degree from the Prophet, right? But this is what the moral science of America is: mutual aid. Islam, that's why your mission statement reads that your charge is to uplift fallen humanity. Obviously, charity begins at home first, and then abroad, right? So we have to make sure that all amongst us are right. This is the kind of thing. It's grand, chic, and simple. I've known times, where our members were destitute because of that Moorish pride. We won't tell nobody. Moors are suffering in silence. We've mastered suffering in silence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? More attending meetings. They look clean when you see them. And Islam or whatever, and you find out how they live, and they in a bad impasse in life. You see what I'm saying? But we should, if we are indeed brothers and sisters, and again, it was because the Prophet Noble Raleigh adopted us and gave us back to each other. Because before that, we wasn't family. And you could call yourself family, but what was the principles that guided your family before the Prophet? Islam. So the Prophet adopted us, him being our father, as a reflection of the Father of the universe. It gave us back to one another. So now our obligation, our duty is to make sure that each other are straight. Right? All the political aspirations that we have go for naught if when people get to know us, we're not right. Islam. I don't think that's a far out concept to grasp, but it's something, I've been touting for years. However, I know my Moors we want those things that the Prophet demonstrated. We want that plateau of recognition. We want that, right? But there's certain things we got to meet in ourselves and as a temple before we get there. And I'm not saying to wait for the political stuff. I'm not saying hold that off. I'm not saying stay off. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying in the process of us stepping out there, we have to know when you get into the affairs of men and women, people can expect you to act like adults, right? And in many cases, we don't. You know what I'm saying? Especially when we're told no. Especially when we're told not now, more. Later, inshallah. Later, if Allah wills. We don't handle that very well because we don't look at that, as the Noble Chairman said, well, let's table that for later. And, parliamentary speak. Meaning, let's just, we'll revisit it. We will revisit it, but just not now. Has anybody seen the exchange between Representative Maxine Waters? It's an older exchange, and one of the European representatives. You seen this? And the topic was discrimination. Anyone see this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I understood both sides. All three sides. I understood where the chairman was coming from. The chairman got a hard job, right? Because he got to keep order, right? I understood Sister Maxine Waters' position because she was passionate, right? She was in her passions about the point of discrimination. And I understood the European she was arguing with, because his position, though, was, pretty disingenuous, but his position, in my general opinion, his position was that, things have to be done for the betterment of the country, betterment of the nation, not just one specific people. And this is true. When you're an elected official in the secular side, you can't pander just to your group.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So this is the thing, when the question was, to the Grove, was about Stacey Abrams, visiting the LGBT and Q community. This is something she has to do as someone running for a secular office, because this is a part of the constituency. She has to do that. You know what I'm saying? All right. And it's a certain maturity we have to understand that.
Right.
Right. But the point is, they were going. It was this discourse back and forth, and according to parliamentary rules, and if you haven't researched it, just research this, because most organized groups govern themselves by this. Demonstrate more.
Yes, more.
Now, there is one lineage that comes down from the Prophet Noble Raleigh, from Brother C. Kirkman Bey down to Brother F. Nelson Bey, past Grand Sheik, down to Brother J. Blakely Bey, down to Brother R. Love Ill, and Brother R. Jones Bey, who's the current of this particular line. May Allah be pleased with them. When they conduct business during the temple meeting, they conduct it according to Robert's Rules of Order. And they run it. It's efficient, boss. You know what I'm saying? Now, has anyone ever been to a city council meeting before? What are they running?
Same way.
Same. See what I'm saying? It's like, if you don't know how civilized governments transact business, how do you expect to stand amongst them and get anything done? You see? Even the very custom, which is basically, this custom is so ancient it's become law, of Moors rising, first you rising before you speak. Right? Because if you look at the House of Representatives, Senate, you know, I don't know, greetings, noble chairman, I rise, giving honors to the noble chairman, the noble so-and-so from such and such state, nobles, giving honors, and then they speak. The Prophet put you on that footing in the Moorish Science of America. We practice that every week. Right? So, in the highest of highs, we should be ready for government, the highest of highs, right? But we haven't mastered all of our basic lessons, you know, and these are the things that we have to get down. Why the Prophet was demonstrating this right here. But let me move forward. It says that to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and divine constitution that is handed down unto you by the Prophet. And that's the second time he mentioned that. Obviously, he mentioned another article. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund which cannot exceed the amount of from 25 cents to 50 cents a week per member. All public collections and dues go to the support of the said temple and its domestic work. The head of every temple must by law obey the word of the Prophet. And if any leader or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is discharged and is subject to the enforcement of the law by the grand body. And the penalty may be a fine, removal from office, or being placed in a very heavy restriction of the law. Again, supreme words of the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Moorish Guide, October 17, 1928. Islam Moors? Islam Moors?
Islam.
Praise Allah. Now, it's very important that we understand these general laws and what they represent, because everything that we do comes forward from this spirit of enacting law. All right? Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you know, though, depending on where your vibration lies, you know, if you're a bay or an ill, sometimes if you're a bay, you may have a particular vibration. That's how generally that's supposed to go. If you're ill, you're supposed to have a certain vibration. Generally, bays are more, you know, in tune with the enactment and enforcement of laws here on the plane of manifest, while the ills bring the laws down from the higher realms down, so the bays can enforce it, right? But neither or, either way you look at it, the ills and bays are supposed to have this synergy, when it comes to these divine and national laws, right? Now, what we have to remember about our prophet was a universal prophet, okay? He came to us clearly to deal with our condition, but he was indeed a universal prophet. Now, the measures that he taught us, right, instruct us and the holy instructions coming from this record, the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America. Well, you have to remember that you're not unique in this lesson right here, these lessons that are contained here, right? There are sacred orders around the planet who universally have not something like these records, not something like these lessons. They have these lessons, literally, word for word. I was going through some of them the other night. And when you read through them and you research these other schools of thought, these other nations, you get to realize, like, wow, and the prophet, he put you up on it on the first page of the Quran. Let's go to that. Actually, first page of lessons. That's under it says, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. And I'm just going to take it from the top all the way to the bottom. The prophet said, every one of my words has his spirit. It says, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. The genealogy of Jesus, with 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order, and your children will learn to love instead of hate. Pardon yourself. Your children will learn to love instead of to hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale. Say that again. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity. If anybody taking notes, you should write that phrase down and do it like a Google search on sake of humanity, international law. Sake of humanity, international law. That's not an arbitrary phrase. It's a legal phrase, right? but it also has spirit. But for the sake of humanity, as I am a prophet, and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense, which means whatever it costs to print it, that's what it's supposed to be charged to make it available. The reason these lessons have not been known, and this is where it goes into it. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed the secrets. And for the first time in ages, these secrets have been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927. Islam Moors? What year did the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America, what year did the Prophet Noble Drew put it in the hands of the general membership? It was 1928. Those mentioned in Key 55, the executive rulers of the MST of A, Adept, the Third Heaven Adept Chamber, the Adepts had it for a year before the general membership got it. Islam? Because they had to understand what was about to be put on the people. They had to be taught not just to possess it, but how to use it. Islam? Right? By the Prophet Noble Drew. The industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In latter years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. Islam? Islam?
Islam.
At this point, I'd like to put a word into the record. That word is landmark. Has anyone in the room ever been lost before? You're driving, you're lost. Well, how do you find your way back to where you're going? Landmark. Like define what a landmark is.
So, building a symbol?
Okay. Building a symbol.
A point of reference where you can judge where you've gone or where you're going.
That's right. In the Bible, which we've pointed this out before, but if you don't know, the Prophet Noble Drew was a Bible master. Even on his Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept student card, he references the Bible, right?
Yeah.
I have it from Genesis to Revelations. I got the missing 18 years of Jesus, Islam, but the top says I am a Muslim, right? Meaning that Muslims are supposed to be masters of that record, all right? In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19, verse 14, right? Pursuant to the King James translation, that's Deuteronomy 19:14. It says, "Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which of old time they have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy God Allah giveth thee to possess." Islam? In that section, there's some master words in there. What do I mean by master words? I've used that phrase before, and I realized I never explained it. When you hear, I might be reading over something, I say, that's a master's word. What that means is that word represents a universal principle. Meaning that no matter what school of thought you go to, what sacred society, fraternity, sorority, whatever, all of these particular fraternities, sororities, nations, whatever, have this language in some form, some format, right? So in this particular demonstration, when it says, he uses the term landmark, right? He uses the term of old time, which is the term ancient, right? He uses the term inheritance. All of these are master's words, right? And the term to possess. To possess is a master's word. Yes, sir.
You said Deuteronomy
19:14.
19:14.
Yes. Well, just remember 1 year after the prophet came to us, 1914, right? Because he came in 1913, right? But landmarks are important because what will happen? Let's say you were lost, right? As we talked about earlier, and you were trying to find your way back, and you remembered a certain set of landmarks to be a certain way as you were going to your destination. But on the way back somebody changed the landmarks, right? So the McDonald's, you remember, it's not a McDonald's now, it's a Burger King. Different logo, different. The Pizza Hut that you remember is now a Subway, right? The school that you remember that was on the corner is a hospital. Would you be able to find your way back? No, right? The Prophet alludes to this in the Quran in chapter 11, verses 16 and 17. Right? This is when he's talking to our brother Barato Araba. Right? And you gotta remember, people give Brother Barato a lot of slack, but Barato was a priest. Barato had degrees, right? But it's just that he leaned on what others said was a particular thing, you know? And our brother Justice, brother Jesus squared it up for him. But in verse 16 of chapter 11, it says, regard not then what any man has said, let us forget the flesh and go with the mind into the land of fleshless things. Mind never does forget. So in that sense, you're never really lost. Islam? You're never really lost. All right? And the verse, next verse just drives it home. Instruction 17, where it says, and backwards through the ages, masterminds trace themselves and thus they know. Right? That whole thing about tracing yourself, that's the concept of landmarks, right? Part 7. Way along? Chart of the Moorish sign symbol of America, right? These emblems are known as the 10 wonders of the world, right? To the Moorish Americans, right? Now, the Prophet gave us these emblems in a specific fashion. It's not a one-hump camel, it's a two-hump camel. That two-hump camel has a name. It's called a Bactrian camel. Bactrin, the Bactrian camel, right? He didn't give us a step pyramid, he gave us the 3 pyramids of Giza, right? He didn't give us a Kufi, he gave us the Fez, right? He didn't give us the Ujet from ancient Kemet, the Eye of Heru. He didn't give us that, he gave us the Eye of Providence, specifically, right? He gave us a star and crescent, but that star and crescent is a specific star and crescent. The crescent is attached to the star, not separated. He gave us our circle 7, which is a gated circle. He gave us a lion and a lamb, not the wolf and the lamb that's mentioned in the book of Isaiah. Right? He gave us the Sphinx, not the griffin from Greece. Right? Specific ways in the hand press, right, which represents straight Islam, not the degrees that you learn in other fraternities. Islam, right? These represent landmarks. And if you know what you're looking at, when you see those emblems, even if the Negro had let's say arguably, if the Negro had a basis, right, he would be able to look at those symbols and guide himself back home, right? But the Negro doesn't even have a basis, right? So we have to, bring them in on belief, which is the first step. Islam, and once we start them off on belief, then we can build them up, right? Until we get them to a certain phase where they can demonstrate, be the message that they bring. They can reach God. He gave us these flags. Islam, right? Now, there's ones that's changed this particular landmark, right? Where it's not, it's because it's very simple what he gave. There's a red flag with a green, 5-pointed green star in the center, right? Doesn't have anything else on it according to the key. Islam?
Islam.
But there's other flags floating around now. They claim to be Moorish, right? And if you follow those flags, you won't find yourself back to where you were right before your empire fell. So the Prophet's laboring, right, via the landmarks, right? And according to the ancient law of the Torah, right, it was considered a sin to move your neighbor's landmark, right? How does that come down today in secular realm, right? You have some property and you want to put a fence up. You got a neighbor, right? What do you have to do? You have to go and find out the property boundaries, right? You can't just put a fence up, right? You have to find out the property boundaries, right? And according to that, imaginary border or demarcation line, as the Prophet said, you place the fence according to that border, right? And you can't. Now, what happen if you want more land, so you slide the fence over a little bit? You violating not just secular law of the current. You're violating ancient law, or the laws from old times, like it said in the record. Islam Moors? This Quran in the Moorish Science Temple of America is a landmark. It came to us a certain way. It came to us a certain color. It came to us with certain wording on it. Islam? If we alter anything on here, it's no longer the Prophet's record. Because it's a landmark. Islam? And I'm guilty of ordering such differences. At the time, I had to grow into certain things. And I realized I violated law. Let me make a speedy reparation. Islam? All right? But the key is, because the Moorish elders used to always say, you gotta spend some time around Moorish elders, because you'll walk away with something. And they said, be careful of changing anything the Prophet brought. I didn't understand that at the time. Like, what do they mean? Be careful about changing anything that the Prophet brought. Being the master that he was, he brought it a certain way for a particular reason. Islam was?
Islam.
Right? So if any way we alter what the Prophet said, or said that we should do it, like our greeting is not Islamism. Our greeting is Islam. That's how our Prophet taught us. In our departure, we say peace. Islam? That sounds petty, but it is what it is. Because this is how our Prophet taught us. Islam was? All right? So we must remember to keep and maintain the landmarks. Right? Our fez is a certain way. Our fez has to be maintained. You know, the fez shouldn't have dents in it. You know, I went to a funeral last week, or a homegoing service, as they say, and one of my brothers had a fez on, but he had something tied around it. You know, that's not how it was brought on the landmarks. Islam? We're not wiser than Noble Drew Ali. Take that out. Not wiser than, right? Not saying that you can't raise your thoughts to infinite wisdom, right? But what I'm saying is, if you were born with the last name William Smith, Jones, Johnson, Overton, Mears, whatever, you ain't wiser than Noble Drew Ali, because you had to come in and get your bayanil from him.
Indeed.
That being the case, we got to learn how to fall in. You know, and the key is, you know, we have to learn just how to reason together. Reason, you know, by way of the Prophet's platform. You know, like, you know, I heard it mentioned, you know, that came across the floor earlier about going out in the community and knocking on doors. There's a way that you have to engage the populace and not lose them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, you know, we want to be right so bad, you know, because we know the Prophet gave us this immutable truth. But our people, they, you know, they can't hear past their passions. They have to be taught how to reason. You know, saying all of our Moorishness, if you don't impart love to them first, they're going to black out everything I'm saying. This is something that has to be remembered, because these are the people that we have to redeem. This is our kindred. Islam Moors? You know? I pray Allah what I'm saying to make some sense, because the responsibility, or as the Prophet said, the yoke that's placed around my neck. It's an honorable yoke once you get used to wearing it. You know, it's heavy, boy. It's heavy. You know, like the old Greek demonstration has. We have those degrees too. But it says, "Heavy is the head of he who wears the crown." And it's heavy. You got that turban on your head. It's heavy. That fez on. It's heavy. You know. There's another phrase the elders used to say. They said, once you place your hand to the gospel plow, he said it would be better for you to take a millstone and place around your neck, which is a huge stone, and jump into the sea rather than to go back. So keep your hand to the gospel plow. What is our gospel? Our gospel is the omnipotence of man. You know, knowing that man and Allah are one. You know, so all this subjugation is all folly to begin with, because we're magnetizing it to ourselves and don't even know it, right? Because we're addicted to suffering. When you're addicted to suffering, you bring more of it to you. You know, but you know, if we know that, you know, as the record says that our heaven is not far off away, it's not a place of meets and bounds. You know, but it's in mind. Heaven is what we create. We create our heaven or our hell, because Allah never made such for man. We create a home. Islam. So you know, this is just something I want to impart, because you know, again, in giving honors, we give honors to Sister Lamadia and Brother Raphael for going to Muhammad's Mosque 15B last week, demonstrating at the youth. What was it called? The youth rally? Summit. The youth summit. How was it?
Youth Connect.
I didn't receive any word.
Youth Connect.
Youth Connect. Thank you. How was it?
It was really good.
Okay. Praise Allah. How did our youth represent? That's some good points. Good. You know, and you know, praise Allah. You know, for the Moorish Americans being in the room. You know what I'm saying? I give honors to my wife who accompanied me to the funeral, and to offer support, for a family that lost a loved one, which is a part of the ministry. You know what I'm saying? I know you're used to that phrase ministry being something related to Christianity, but Moorish American Muslims are missionaries and we have a ministry. Chapter 15, it talks about the divine ministry of Jesus. Hence, where the term divine minister comes from, right? So, bringing an uplifting spirit to one that's aching and caught in grief, that's your obligation too. But you have to be taught how to, have that obligation, but praise Allah, and I'd like to give, honor to my wife as well for, it's something that she does that, that goes unnoticed. In ancient times, before anything was done in a holy place, the holy place was always cleansed, dusted down, floors mopped, all the, whatever. And I give honors to her because she mopped the floor, wiped the windows, and didn't ask, she just did it. You see what I'm saying? And the path of your forefathers, there was a post called, you're familiar with the Imam. You might be familiar if you've ever been to a mosque. There's one called the Muqtadi. The Muqtadi's job, he's like the assistant grand governor or the assistant grand sheikh. His job is to basically, repeat the commands of the Imam. So when he says Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, he seconds it. Then you have the Mutawali. The Mutawali's job, the word wali meaning governor or guardian or protector. The Mutawali's job is he's the custodian of the mosque, right? So his job is to make sure that, the mosque is in such condition as though if Allah himself came through, all will be perfect. That's the Mutawali's charge, and he might have a staff or whatever to make sure that before the particular prayer service, before the particular educational service, ta'alim they say, or whatever, it's in perfection. Prophet Noble Drali gives you that. He says, when it talks about in Moorish literature, make sure all is in perfection before the Prophet comes. Otherwise, don't arrange to have his presence. That's Moorish. Islam, like if you got company coming, like we are in our houses, house might be a little wrecked, but if you got some company coming over, if you got some civilization about yourself, you try to straighten up a little bit, right? So how much of in perfection should the temple be on the holy day? You know what I'm saying? And during this time while we're, I consider this period while we're meeting in the barbershop, I consider this our wilderness period. Where the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they had to burn off certain traits, right? So, before they got into the promised land. So before we get into our own building, our own everything, we have to learn how things should operate. So that way when we open those doors, it should run just like this record reads, just like the law reads, that's something that definitely we have to work on. Because again, part of the Negro condition is, I don't care how it works as long as it works. Or I don't care who does it as long as it gets done. This is part of the Negro condition. You see what I'm saying? As Brother Khalid demonstrated about, I think the number is actually, they have it now, Keisha Labs Bottoms has it, I think 311 for potholes. So anywhere in the city you see, you just pull over, call 311, they get that boy filled, right? But the point is that, there's a process to how that gets filled. Because they're workers, they got to get paid, certain crew, certain size crews, all of that. It's logistical planning even with that, right? But the citizen's job is to know how that operates, right? But our people, as disenfranchised as they become, we don't even realize that we're supposed to be citizens that are active to understand that. And as all the masters have demonstrated before me today, or tonight demonstrated, that's where the Moorish Science Temple of America comes in to fill in those gaps, right? To teach those things necessary to make our people better citizens. Islam, so these are the things. I'm just proud. I'm proud to know you all, and to see you all. I was pretty upset Sister Lamadi didn't get a chance to demonstrate tonight because y'all didn't see it over there, but she had a book cracked open over there with a note. I think it was international law. I don't want to expose. I thought y'all was gonna get an international law demonstration tonight, and then when the chairman just went to somebody else, she closed it. And the book was like boom. Y'all didn't hear it. I was over there dying. Boom. I was like, oh, they missed out tonight. But praise Allah, man. You know what I'm saying? I remember, and just going, back, tracing myself back so I can know, when all of you first came and, with all kind of ideas about what this movement was. You know what I'm saying? And to see you all come in, Brother Yosef, this more right here. One thing I admire about this more right here demonstration, Prophet, gives us an instruction about when you demonstrate with clearness and power. Remember that. This Moor right here comes in. You know, I'm so used to teaching. You know, I write everything down, so. You know, very, very Moorish. You know, very, very powerful, very, very clear, right? And this is the way our forefathers were. Our forefathers were known by their demeanor. You know, by their poise. Do you remember the movie Coming to America? Remember when they were in McDowell's? McDowell's? Eddie Murphy was sitting there, you know, he's sitting. And she was like, what? Relax. He was like, I am. He said, why are you sitting like this? He was like, what? That's all he knows. Like, what do you mean? Why would I sit any other way? You know? But see, this is without saying more, or royal, or prince, his demeanor gives that off. Right? Not saying that you should walk through the earth arrogantly, right? Or with vanity, right? But confident in who you are. No insecurities, right? And complete love and adoration with the fact that I was a prophet. Right? My prophet put me on a firm foundation, solid rock. Islam? All right? So these are just some things I wanted to impart this evening. I didn't want to burden the Moors. I just want to give honors. There's a phrase that says, they come down from the prophet. Honors to whom honor is due. Why we spend so much time giving honors is because, have you ever, worked at a job or something and known a coworker, or it might have been you, and you felt as though you deserved a promotion and was passed over? And that discontent, that malevolent attitude of the person adopts, like, I should have gotten that. There's nothing like that, and it's hard to shake. So, we like to give people the honors, while they're alive and while they can hear them, and to their face. I don't want to honor somebody behind their back, it's not going to do them any good. You know what I mean? Because like it or not, we all have those things, So sometimes a thing separating a person from leaving the temple and going to take somebody's life might be some honors. It might be a sincere Islam from the depths of your heart. That might touch them and send them out in a proper state. So this is why the prophet, he was big on the motive from which we do things. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
And with that, I'll lower the meeting. Praise Allah. Make a good time, good time. Moors, we labor to demonstrate that our meetings open and close promptly, according to the Circle 7.
Islam.
But when you understand what that means, it ain't got nothing to do with that clock. That's another story. Islam? Islam? Islam. Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Once the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their parts in protecting the prophet, their prophet, and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 All praise are due to Allah, the highest of honors, to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Moors, just imparting, the mercy that was put down, sent down to the Moorish Americans to give us these lessons. For me, we don't put enough time into mastering these lessons. And not, when I say master, I don't mean memorizing them. To memorize is good, and that is a part of it, right? But becoming the lessons, you know what I mean? Becoming the representation of what's on the cover of this record. This is what the prophet wanted for us, And when the prophet left this form, the movement went in all different kinds of directions because different people had a different thought about what it was to be Moorish, right? One last statement. the name Moorish Science Temple of America. Right? There was an ancient master from Baltimore. He made a phrase, a statement. He said the term science belongs to the nations because the different nations have had science. He said the term temple belongs to the nations of the earth because they've had various different groups. Might call that group temple this, temple that. Philadelphia is a temple university, so that belongs to the nations. The term America belongs to all true American citizens. So that belongs to this nation here. But that term Moorish, right? That term Moorish had been buried by the European nations starting in 1774 and buried permanently in law in 1779, right? So the term Moorish, right, came from none other than the Prophet Noble Drew Ali as returned to the hands of the Muslims of America, right, back in this land, in this day and time, by none other than the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So it would make no other sense to honor any other master other than honoring the Prophet Noble Drew Ali because he has all rights and authority of publishing of Moorish since 1927. Islam was? All right? So maybe keep in mind who our magistrate is. Right? On our chart, it calls him not just our prophet, but our grand ruler. Islam? All right? And that comes from the ancient system of Moabite rule, of our grand ruler. Right? The title for our ruler in Morocco was Sultan. Islam? All right? But we were fortunate enough not just have a sultan such as, but a prophet of Allah. Right? Which in that sense, this is Allah speaking to us, but in the flesh. Islam? So just ponder on that thought and trace yourselves back and study your landmarks. Study where the prophet put those emblems at, those what you would call symbols. Right? Study whether it has its own language. I want you to meditate on that alone. You'll be able to say, this master right here was not playing. Islam? Everyone please rise, face the east, and we'll close where we began in prayer. Demonstration 45, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Invoking the seven Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, and evermore to be. Please repeat after me. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of the universe,
Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
peace,
freedom,
and
justice. Allah, my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
and
my salvation, by night, and by day. To His holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam, boys.
Islam.
Praise Allah.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar.